Welcome to Creative Teacher Librarian, helping busy educators inspire with efficiency. Today I'm talking to Canadian writer and educator Jennifer Lott, author of Cursed Dishes. And this is Jennifer's first book, and it just came out in 2014. So Jennifer, Cursed Dishes is a chapter book which looks at themes of family conflict, chores.
Well, it's a magical parody of family, ordinary everyday family problems raised to magical heights.
Okay. And what made you want to write this story?
Revenge.
Okay.
The first version I wrote was when I was 16, and it was the same reason in the book for the character, that I was upset with my sisters for not scraping out their leftovers.
So you were Glenda.
I was Glenda, yes, unfortunately.
Okay, Glenda the good witch, though, right?
Yes, but she can be quite spiteful.
Okay. Okay, I have to ask then. Glenda plays Carnegie Hall in the story. Did you play Carnegie Hall?
I sang at Carnegie Hall with my choir.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic. Okay. Okay, I'm almost afraid to ask this now, but who's your favorite character?
I don't think Glenda is, but I can't really choose between the other two. I think that they're inspired by my sisters, but they're taking on a life of their own, Charlotte and Eileen. They're immortalized as children, for one thing, so I know them as adults now. So
right.
I imagine them the way they used to be, but it's not quite the same as how they were. Eileen is much more timid than my sister Tegan is in real life, but I've sort of made each thing about them bigger than life for the stories.
Okay. All right. Oh, that's interesting. So I know you've had drawings and things on your website from students. Does one of your characters get more feedback than the others?
I have seen a lot of the picture of Charlotte with her foot in the cereal bowl. That's been a theme.
Okay.
Some of the drawings are hard to interpret. Children, I'd like if they wrote something about what their picture was about, but I can't tell what they are in the story.
Okay.
It's interesting, though. It's exciting to see.
Okay. So I was going to ask you why all the main characters in your story are female, but I'm starting to understand. Now, did you ever have an editor say to you, this would be better if you put guys in it?
No, actually, before I found my publisher, the only editing advice I got was about the length. First it was a short story, and the first publisher that almost took me on wanted me to make it a picture book.
Okay.
So I simplified and shrank it. And then the next publisher I found wanted me to make it a chapter book. So I stretched it. But no one ever told me to change I have heard that you should write stories with boy protagonists because boys are more likely to pick up the book, but I didn't grow up with brothers, so it didn't come out that way.
Yeah. Okay. So this is very interesting. Can you talk a little bit more about the process, sort of the route you took between writing it and getting it published?
It was about 10 years between the first version and it getting picked up. I wasn't actively looking for a publisher for that particular story. It was my very first one.
Yeah.
And it went through a big transformation, like I said.
Yeah.
So I was more focused on my new projects, my novels. And then I found a local publisher who wanted to do a children's book, and that was the one I had.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll have to ask about your novels later, a little bit later. So now this one's for educators, okay? So help us out here. In the biography on your website, you talk about an era in your education when textbooks became the enemy, and you went from being a dedicated honor student to someone who viewed school as a pointless, time-sucking endeavor that robbed you of your next great works of fiction.
Yes, I'm guilty of that attitude.
Tell me about this part of your life. This is interesting.
It happened to me at the end of high school when I became serious about writing. I've got one specific story from my grade 12 literature class. It was an assignment on The Fairy Queen by Edmund Spenser.
Okay.
And what I did was I really enjoyed the assignment because I ignored all the instructions for the assignment, and I didn't interpret the things in the poem I was supposed to. I became fascinated by all the religious symbols in the story, and I made my whole essay about those. And then my teacher gave me a bad grade, and she told me I had misunderstood the assignment, and I remember taking all that and thinking, I shouldn't try to enjoy the assignment next time. I should just get it over with, write what she wants, you know. And so that sort of feeling in high school, that high school wasn't worth my time. I couldn't take the time to enjoy it because that's not what teachers wanted. That started to happen to me at the end of high school. I wouldn't say that happened my whole education, but grade 12 I did that.
Sure. And then, okay. So
that's just one example.
Yeah. No. So what should teachers have done differently? Because I'm really interested in the advice part of this. You know, thinking of yourself as a student. Obviously, you're a very creative and talented person. What should they have done to meet your needs?
Yeah. I think it's good to have a framework as a springboard because there are students who feel helpless if you leave them open to creativity. If you don't give them the rules of what they have to do, they need that to get started. Mm-hmm. But I think that teachers should definitely be open to the creative approach if a student is more interested in something else in the study. I mean, if it's still a motivated study and they're still learning from it, I think taking it in their own direction shouldn't be punished.
Okay.
That's creative thinking, and it's still applied work. So I think that it should be something that they're open to, even if they don't start with that in assignments.
Okay. All right. Well, you're an educator too, as well
Yes.
as a writer. What do you now? Tell me about your students, because obviously they're not in high school. Tell me what you do to kind of bring out their abilities.
Well, I find it a lot easier to bring out abilities in young children. I personally find it very difficult to motivate older children. So I found my favorite age between ages 3 to 5 because it's easy to get them engaged and enthusiastic as long as you're engaged and enthusiastic. When I'm reading a story to them and they get really interested in one part, I don't mind segueing and going into that. Like if they're focusing on an animal in the story, we'll branch off and do another story about that type of animal or something they want to learn about it, a dance or a game, anything I come up with just from their own interests. So I feed off what they're giving me to plan the rest of it. I'm improvising.
Okay, that sounds good. So now being an educator and a writer, do you find those activities conflict or they work together, or how does that work?
The only way that they conflict is time. They both conflict with each other for time. I think apart from that, they feed each other quite a lot. I had, back when I had my epiphany that I was a writer, the writing goggles on everything in life. I was working at Arby's at the time, and all of a sudden the fast food restaurant looked like it was full of meaning. It was all inspiration. Everything I looked at, I was meant to see it. It was a story somehow. That faded over time, but the writing goggles were a lot better with children because I started writing for children, so I could see things more through their eyes when I was trying to come up with picture book ideas. I get a lot of ideas from children. So that feeds the writing. The ECE work feeds me literally for writing. So it's great to have a day job that I actually enjoy. That's wonderful.
Okay. Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. Okay. So what are you writing now?
I am currently working on a middle grade novel for ages about 8 to 12. It's a soft sci-fi about an alien dimension that sucks shiny objects from Earth.
Ooh.
And a 10-year-old girl discovers it by a portal in her bedroom that's sucking up all her plastic jewelry. She discovers it's not a metal thing, it's actually shiny things. So it's a whole child-based exploration of the other world.
Okay. That sounds very interesting. Okay. So where else can listeners, viewers find your work?
So far, just Cursed Dishes, but Hexed Hair is coming out this fall, the sequel to Cursed Dishes. And I have 3 short stories out in magazines, Neoopsis, Andromeda Spaceways, and Opus 5 of the Oak Royal Universe anthologies.
Oh.
I do have online fiction. I have 1 short story up on Campfire blog, and I have the alternative ending to the Animorphs up in novel length, and up on a website, The Alternative Ending to the Animorphs. That's what I have notes so far.
Okay, and what's your own website called? What do we Google to find you? Do we Google Jennifer Lott, or?
For my children's books right now, Family Magic is a website by itself, Family Magic Series. That's where the kids can go to get their activity sheets. Things like this on the site. I don't know if you can see in the, they can print off activities from the website, mazes and such, connect the dots.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't see it. Anyway, that's for the kids. And then anything about me as an author in general, jenniferlott.com. You can Google me.
Okay. All right. Well, I think I've covered all the points that I was going to ask you. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, I don't think so.
All right, then. So thank you so much for speaking with me today. I'm looking forward to reading more of your stuff. Now that I know that you like science fiction, I'm going to look for your stuff for adults, of course. Anyway, let me know about your future books. And now, for listeners, for more information on teaching with creativity, you can look at my website, which is Creative Teacher Librarian, and it's at mayawentz.com. And thank you so much for talking to me today. That's a lot of fun. You're my first ever Skype interview.
Oh, my first one too as an author, actually.
All right.
First Skype one.